Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is episode number 33 or 34. I actually forgot, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter is this is the third tournament back that I'm playing competitive over the board chess, and I'm currently in Spilimbergo in Italy, which is a tiny, tiny town, kind of not between, but close to Udine and Trieste. That doesn't really mean anything because none of you know where any of those places are anyway, especially my Americans, right? We don't know anything. But the second round recap is ready, and we're about to jump into it. I had to change because I packed tank tops to go to the gym at this hotel. Gym ain't much of a gym, so I'm changing into tank tops once I sweat through my normal clothes because it's like over 30 degrees Celsius here every single day. Anyway, you don't have to know that, but what you do have to know is at the time of this tournament, all the courses are 33% off. So there you go. Now, in this game, I am playing against Anaí Ortiz Verdezotto, and she is the second best woman in Ecuador. In Ecuador, they have another person who is slightly higher rated than her. I don't really know what Anaí's deal is. I don't think she's a professional player. She has played a lot, but I think she's maybe studying or teaching chess now. And when I looked at her openings, I was pretty annoyed because she is very, very, very solid. And what I mean by that is, she plays Queen's Pawn, and she really plays it like uber solidly. So I had a surprise ready, something that I have never played before, and I was ready to debut one of my new weapons, which is the following, which is knight to f6. And, if she had played c4, which is normally what she plays, I would have played e6, of course, because I've been playing Nimso and Queen's Gambit Declined, and this has basically made it permanently into my opening repertoire. I used to never play it, but I think this alone will gain me like 50 rating points because, it's just really nice to have these solid weapons. She played knight f3, so I didn't really understand the difference, but, I guess she didn't want to play into the Nimso Indian. So she played knight f3, d5, c4, e6, knight c3. So we play this position, and now there are, like 10 different moves that you can play here with black. Those of you that have been following the Road to Grandmaster series, you may remember that I played a6, and I also played h6 in my tournament in Madrid. And in this game, I played knight bd7. So I have never played knight bd7 in my life. And I decided to debut at this game. Why? Because it keeps pieces on the board, and she's a very solid player. She's a very positional player. And so I figured, if I can keep some pieces on the board, then I'm going to, potentially be able to complicate things later on. So I played knight d7, and she always takes and plays bishop g5. You can play other things here, but she took and she played bishop g5, which is what I gathered from studying her games. And so now, the regular Queen's Gambit Declined to something like c6, but I played bishop to b4. And my point here was to be as provocative as possible. So I'm trying to play c5, and I'm trying to play queen a5, and I'm trying to put pressure on this knight. It's a very, very provocative system. And after pawn to e3, first of all, I can play c5. Second of all, I can play h6, g5, and knight e4, which is yet another system, but you can't really win a game from the opening like this. You're kind of, overextending. But I played c5, and here she spent some time. And you can already tell I have a 14-minute time advantage, so I was very happy with this opening choice. But the move that she played here, I really didn't like that she played it. Of course, this system is not the best way to play, but best way to play here is like 0.1 for white, and the not best way is 0.3. So it's all about equal. And white can just kind of play normal moves and then play develops, but she took my knight. And yeah, true to her playing style, like, it's not the best move, but it's uber solid. And the point is, if I just take back, let's say, with my, I didn't like taking back with the queen because I still have to move my knight at some point, right? Like, for example, she's going to play bishop d3. I'm going to castle. She's going to castle. Maybe we get this position. I just thought, like, I mean, this is just completely equal. Completely equal. Maybe we could have played this. But I found a very creative idea. So after knight f6, she probably needs to play bishop b5 check, because if she doesn't play bishop b5 check, I play queen a5, and I get all of my play, plus she gave me the bishop for the knight, right? So here I was expecting bishop b5 check, and I know for a fact the best move in this position is bishop d7. The only reason I didn't play bishop d7 is that after something like bishop takes, queen takes, let's say even knight e5, I didn't really like too much because I thought she gets the queen to a4. I actually missed I can play queen b5, which is a really hilarious move. I mean, the position's completely equal. But I didn't want to trade pieces, and here, the move that I saw from a distance when she took my knight, I was really happy with this. I played king e7. And this is one of the most gangster moves I have ever played, I think. Just a straight-up king move in the center of the board. And the point is, I'm basically trying to, like, tell her, I'm not going to play your game. I'm not going to play your game of solidity and all this. I'm not going to do that. And there's like people banging the walls outside. I don't know what's happening. So I'm not going to play this game of, you know, solidity, and I'm going to provoke you. I'm going to keep pieces on the board, and I'm going to continue to try to implement my game plan. And also, you know, my king is safe. Like, I'm going to go bishop e6, and actually then I'm going to connect the rooks. But this move does come with a burden, and I know at some point in the future I'm going to have to move the king. So she goes back. She goes back because she doesn't want the queen to come with an attack. I still go here. She plays queen d2, and here I'm up 30 minutes on the clock. Which is why the next several moves I'm really unhappy about. I played bishop e6. I played this move pretty quickly, normal, and now castles. And so, basically, the point is, I thought here she could play a3. And what I was going to play here is I was going to take, right? And I thought after something like take, 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 maybe I can play knight to e4, targeting this pawn, or maybe I can play c4 first and then knight e4. And I didn't know if this endgame of bishop versus knight was good for me or bad for me. The computer thinks it's bad for me. Basically, my bishop is stuck. So I'm always considering, am I going to take on c4? Now, another thing I'm considering is she going to take on c5? So, for example, is she going to go here? After which, you know, if I go here, she's going to put a knight on, she's going to put a rook on c1, she's going to put a knight on d4, and she's going to be very happy. So what I did here is I played rook c8 because I thought this was a very natural move. She played rook c1, and from a distance, what I had planned here was I was going to play something like rook d8 to bring my rook over here. I rejected rook d8 because I was like, she can take on c5, and she's going to put the knight on d4, so that's pretty easy. Pawn to c4. Now, again, you'll notice I spent 16 minutes moving the rook to c8. Yeah, that just can't happen. You know, I was also looking at the move knight e4 in this position, and I rejected it because of knight g5. So another thing that I considered here was c4 first, so that there is no knight g5, so that the knight is blocked off. And after knight e1, I didn't know who was better here. I didn't know, like, it looks like I'm kind of pushing her all the way back, but I don't have a breakthrough, and this is still hanging, and I'm happy to, you know, I spent way too much time here calculating. I should have played rook c8 much faster, and then I should have played the next move much faster, but here I really started tanking because I didn't quite understand why I couldn't capitalize on my advantage. Like, I clearly have the momentum, I've clearly thrown her off, you know, with moves like king e7, for example, but somehow, you know, it's hard to win a chess game with black unless your opponent, like, literally just explodes like a balloon. I mean, it's not easy to do unless you play, you know, the Dutch defense or the modern defense or something more provocative. And who knows, maybe in the future I will add such openings back to my repertoire, especially for such solid players. So allow me to walk you through my thought process. So my point here was going to be to bring my pieces back. right? Because it looks like I'm going to take. Like, it looks like, here, a3, take, and try to play this endgame. No, this is not a particularly good endgame. So I realized, like, my plan here had been to play rook d8 and play it fast. Then I was like, wait, if I play rook d8, she has this idea to play knight e5 and f4, f5. But another idea that she has is knight here. And I didn't know how to deal with this move. I didn't want to give up my bishop. Like, I thought about playing rook d6 here, but after knight e6, I have to take with a pawn because I'm pinned otherwise. So that doesn't really work. So then I thought, okay, well, what if I play rook c6? It's actually still the same situation, that the position is like kind of okay, and she can start rerouting, and I don't know. I was looking at this position for a long time, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to play h6. But now I'm down on time. So a 30-minute time advantage in an opening surprise, and I just get lost in the variations. Like, I'm calculating, I'm analyzing, I'm this, I'm that, but it's all equal. And I just kind of got to accept that sometimes. And it's hard for me to do. So I try to think, and I'm like, okay, I stopped knight g5. She plays a3. And what I had prepared here from a distance was to just go back. But I can't do that anymore because she plays knight e5. And if I take knight d7, she plays f4 and she's winning. So suddenly I'm thinking, okay, this is bad. I messed up. And she's got an advantage now. Like, she's better. And what I should have done is I should have went rook d8. h6 was too slow. I should have allowed knight g5, and the position's just equal. But I tried to have everything, and I ran out of time. And now she plays rook b1 first, but knight e5 is on the way, and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm just worse. Like, now she's gonna play rook b4. She's gonna play rook b1, a4, put pressure. Like, she's calling all the shots. So I played in a provocative way. I completely did not capitalize. Then I played way too slowly, not just on the clock, but also in the position. And now she's better, right? Now she's playing for a win, actually. So she plays knight to e5, setting up a really, really nasty threat, setting up rook takes b7 with knight c6. And so here I thought what she should do is she should play rook b4. Because rook b4 simultaneously blocks my queen, ready to double in the b file, ready to play a4. A lot of things going for white here. But she played f3, which, yeah, I mean, true to her style, right? It stops me from doing this, and she's going to play e4, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like, I thought I was, like, dominating here, but clearly not, right? Clearly not the case. So knight d7. And I had a feeling I was much worse. I had a feeling. So my idea here was to play bishop c6, rook e8, rook e7, stop e4, defend c6, pressure the e-pawn, and this is the configuration I was going for. And again, I think rook b4 is the best move because it stops bishop trade, right? My bishop is pretty bad. She's trying to push forward in the center of the board, and that's why I'm ready with this move. I didn't know what to do if rook b4 happened, actually. But lucky for me, she went e4. And I think this move really surprised her. I think here she suddenly began thinking that she had messed up and now was potentially playing defensive chess, which is, again, it kind of goes back to like a style thing. But I mean, I still thought she was better. Like, she's got the strong pawns, and I thought the position was definitely, imbalanced. And so here, kind of crazy, but she thought for like 7 minutes before taking my bishop. And I guess she was calculating things like e5, but, then, of course, I will take and play like king g8, for example. I was shocked she took so long. And then here, she again thought for 7 minutes. So now it's 14-4. Now, her position is still better, but psychologically, everything has shifted. Like, suddenly, it almost feels like she thinks she's going to lose the game, right? That's why she's spending so much time. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe she really likes her position. She's getting nervous and she's playing slowly, but my plan here was like, look, I'm going to put pressure on her pawns. She's going to push one of them forward. Then I'm going to try to win it. And I'm going to try to target these pawns the way I can. So I went rook e7. She went rook f4. and I played king g8, right? Just getting off the g file. It's 9 minutes versus 4. Again, I was trying to play a little bit faster here. She played this move d5. Now, what's funny is I actually thought it was a good move during the game because I thought she was trying to play queen d4. But again, the second that one of these pawns comes forward, a little bit of a counterintuitive move, but now suddenly the pawns are blockaded. And this is exactly what I felt like, I won a lot of tournaments, a lot of games in the tournament in New York like this, 5 minutes each, tense endgame, and here we go. So she plays rook g4. I bring my queen back attacking the rook. She was threatening queen takes h6, so now I'm threatening the rook. And she repeats here, and this is the sign of a player who's kind of losing the thread. Now it's 4 minutes to 1. And I was pretty annoyed here at myself because I had a feeling I was better, and I had a feeling I needed to get my kingside pawns involved, but I couldn't quite figure it out, so I went queen c5, and here I was like, oh, she's got to go queen f2, but she goes queen d4, right? Now, in my heart of hearts, I know that this queen trade is bad. I know it's bad. The engine also agrees. So now I have 1 minute and 20 seconds to decide. Do I play f5, pawn takes, rook d5, f6, hitting my rook and hitting my pawn? Do I play rook e8 first, attacking the pawn on e4? And if rook e1, then I play f5. I have another move here, by the way, which is g5, which is a really nasty move. And the point of g5 is that the rook now loses 2 squares, and h5 removes the defender. I saw g5, but I was like, well, what about h4? h5, rook g3. I don't really get it. Or do I just play b5? Now, g5 is the top engine move, and after h4, the computer just says h5, rook g3, take, lose the pawn here, close it down. And white's pawns, and I didn't see f5 in my defense, but white's pawns are now basically all going to fall. It's not over, but it's close. g5 is the best move. f5 is actually also okay. And, I thought about this move, and the engine doesn't even think it's good. After rook e1, f5, black is definitely winning. But I thought what I found was also good. I just thought b5. Like, I'm not going to rush anything. I'm just going to improve. I'm going to defend my queenside pawn, and I'm going to bring my pawns together down the edge of the board. The problem is I played this move with 4 seconds on the clock. So now I have 34 seconds to make my next decision. She plays rook b1. I play a6. She plays a4. And, at this point, I know that if I start pushing these pawns in a coordinated fashion, I'm likely winning because I have 2 on 0, right, defended by rooks. But I really was worried here about somehow these pawns queening, which in retrospect is quite silly, but I just thought like I'm getting blockaded a bit. The engine finds a way. The engine finds a way, but again, I had 30 seconds to make a decision here, and I went for it with c3. And the line that I had calculated here was a b5, rook b5, and I thought after f5, I'm winning with rook e1 and c2, which is very, very tricky. If here I promote and I escape the perpetual check by running to e8. So I got 30 seconds on the clock, and I completely, she goes a b5, and then she plays rook g3, which I thought was the right defense. I thought that was the point. But I totally forgot here that I can just move my rook to c7. And I thought rook g3 in this move order was also the defense, the same way that I thought rook g3 in this move order was the defense. But it's not, because in the game, I still have a pawn. I still have a b pawn. So I can play rook c7. She cannot take on b5 because of this. So rook c7 is yeah, I should have seen rook c7. But because in the other version with 30 seconds on the clock, rook g3 worked, and here it doesn't because the pawn still exists. That's pretty bad. Maybe I was worried about something. I don't know. Maybe I only looked at rook c8, d6, and I got scared. Like I saw this and I got scared. But yeah, in time trouble, silly things happen. And I pushed, And I thought, well, I'm going to win her pawns now. But what ends up happening here is, she's able to take, she's able to get my B pawn. And this is a drawn endgame because it's a 3-on-2 on the same side. This would be potentially winning if a pawn was on the other side, because then it could try to become a queen, but all on the same side. This simplifies down to a drawn rook and pawn endgame. So what I tried to do here is I tried to keep some pieces on the board, but she traded the rook. And so what I tried to do here, I think she played a slightly inaccurate move. Like g4 is a very slight inaccuracy because it weakens h3. So here, the only way that I can keep the game going at our level, at the noob level, even white can win this game down a pawn. The only way I can keep the game going is to get my king out and then push my pawns. And that's what I started to do. I had a feeling I missed a chance, but I didn't know exactly where. And actually here, I thought, I very, very slowly, carefully did this. And I thought, oh, I've made great progress. Like, let's go rook f4 and look at this. I'm gonna win the pawn on h2, I was thinking. But she finds rook b3. And now if I go here, she runs the king. And it's actually even worse than that. Not only does she run the king keeps running, which I did not see. And she offered me a draw here because I'm about to get mated. Not actually, but like, it's kind of hilarious how I have the weak king and I cannot push the pawn through. But the game was a draw basically once I didn't move the rook to defend the pawn. And again, this is actually like extremely trivial in retrospect because you're putting a rook behind the pawn. But I had just told myself mentally that I had missed f5, rook g3. And if rook c7, rook c5. So in my mind, I thought, oh, rook g3 is a draw, but not this way. And yeah, I mean, I had 30 seconds on the clock and the brain just like didn't register the two. I can blame the jet lag, I can blame whatever, but I got my chance, and sometimes in chess you get one chance in a game that's like 90 moves. This game was 82 moves. Should I have won? Not necessarily. I mean, rook c7 was definitely findable, but also I was quite a bit worse after I went astray in the middle game. And I mean, it was +1 for my opponent, who then got low on time as well. So I think it was a fighting game. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I think we both played decently. I lose a couple of rating points, but it's life. So I'm now minus 0.3 on the tournament. But I have 1.5 out of 2. And in the next round, I'm up against a young man from India. So stay tuned for that recap. His rating is 2200, but he's from India, so that means that he could lose to a 1600 or he could beat a 2500 from India. Like, the Indian rating system is all over the place. And he's quite strong. So 1.5 out of 2. Some of you may be wondering about the GM norm. To get a GM norm, you need to have a performance rating of 2600 and you need to play 3 GMs. There's 12 grandmasters in this whole tournament, so I gotta start winning some games. I gotta play against some GMs. That's all I have for you today. 33% off, and if you don't want to spend any money, check out the courses for free and get out of here.